If we are talking about overall economic growth, Prakashji, then the quality of life is also a very important issue.
We have to eradicate poverty, as Jayant has said. That's our cardinal priority. We must end inequality. At the same time, we must ensure energy access and all necessary developmental facilities to all citizens of the country. Let us see things in context. I am putting this context on World Forum everywhere. We are 17% of the world's human population. We are 17% of world's cattle population. Both require land, water and food. And we have only 2.5% of the land mass. We have only 4% of water, fresh water resources. In that context, India is performing, and one must realize and appreciate our sincere efforts. And we have 30% of people below poverty line, and we have 30% of people who don't have energy access. And with those difficulties, when we are in that context, when we are progressing, we'll walk the talk, but we need that gap, and therefore emission cut nobody expected from us. We are walking energy efficiency path. We will reduce our energy intensity of our development. We will increase our non-fossil fuel share of our energy capacity. And third, we are also increasing our carbon. India's actions till 2030 will avoid carbon emissions over business as usual scenario to the extent of 3.6 billion tons per annum. That's a huge contribution of India, and that's why world has appreciated our INDCs. And we are very lucky to have Narendra Modi as Prime Minister. But there is, I want to make appeal, because you are the real masters. Because I am telling the world that you are saying that these INDCs are not enough. We must do more. As if you are deciding that technology will not develop. I believe in human intelligence and intent. Technologies develop. When people gathered last time in Kyoto, nobody realized. America's delegation was 700 specialists. But nobody could predict that shale gas was waiting outside. Today also I am saying that when we are meeting in Paris, nobody knows whether the hydrogen car is waiting outside. So there is a great challenge and opportunity. And that is the power of innovation. You are the people who can do it. And Make in India, according to me, is not just foreign companies coming here and making in India. No. Or Indian companies making the same product again and again. No. We have to innovate. Who will innovate? You are the people who can innovate. And what Modi ji is appealing is, come, innovate, invest, make in India, and sell with pride as made in India. And that is the Make in India. I was with Steve Jobs when I was IT Task Force Chairman. I was with Steve Jobs for 2 days. He was telling about his handheld, which was not existing. But in '98, he was telling and describing as if he is seeing the iPhone. And all features combined into one phone, machine handheld, was unbelievable. But that is what miracles happen to those who believe in it and who have abilities to deliver. And that's what you can do. I negotiated in MIT Media Lab Asia project. I was there for 7 days. When I returned back, Yashwant Singh was finance minister. Atalji called me and asked me why we are committing so much money, what we are importing. I said we are importing research culture. We are importing research freedom. We are importing research flexibility, and which is not existing in many of our institutes. Our research institutes unfortunately have become bureaucratic, and therefore this research is the real asset. Your innovation will give addition. Material cost may be 5,000. It becomes 50,000 with innovation. And that innovation you can bring in. It may be Mumbai. It is not Mumbai versus Delhi. It is Mumbai, Delhi and all other IITs. are the hope of country, because I believe in human intent and human intelligence.
Including the newer IITs that are coming up. I was interested in asking you more about your meeting with Steve Jobs in 1998, but we'll do that some other time. What I want to ask you, and for the audience to understand also, the point about climate emissions that Prakash Javadekar ji just spoke about, our climate plan, funding plan, will require $2.5 trillion by one estimate. The global fund that is available is $100 billion. You can correct me on the numbers. You said we are 17% of the population, which is correct, and there can't be a per capita comparison. But the question that arises is, two, are our plans too ambitious, and or is enough money being put by global majors on the table to help developing countries achieve the climate change standards?
Unfortunately, Zarabi, the issue is globe is talking about $100 billion scaling up from 2020 per year, $100 billion. But today on table it is only pledges of $10 billion for next 4 years. It is just $2.5 billion per annum. It is not enough. We have said it very clearly. I said I will not demand 17% of the fund, though we are 17% of population. We are not part of the problem, but we want to be part of solution. So we will rise on our own, but we are fighting for a cause of developing world, because unless we take everybody along, we cannot have an equal and just world. And therefore this $100 billion is important. It's significant. It's not the cost. I also said that cost of climate action throughout the world, as per the INDC submitted by more than 160 countries, is trillions of dollars. But $100 billion is recognition of historical responsibility, and that is essential.
And $100 billion overall as a fund size, or are you only talking about a country like India?
No, it's $100 billion by the developed world, who have historically responsible for today's climate change of 0.8 degrees Celsius, which we are experiencing and for which we are suffering.
What about funding the rest, the gap for 2030?
See, when I have a finance minister like Arun Jaitley and Jayant Sinha, why we should worry? Because we will grow under leadership of Modi, and we will create our own resources whereby we can take effective climate action. And more importantly, I believe in you, because today air quality monitoring which we launched, one instrument set is $60,000. When I went to MIT this time, we had discussion and they showed me a new instrument, just $1,000. I want innovation to happen like that. I'm very sure that as we progress, we'll have more innovations and our cost will get reduced for fighting climate change.
I think there is already a proposal coming for the next budgetary exercise, Mr. Sinha, from the Ministry of Environment for funding climate change. But we'll come to another aspect, and for the audience once again, forest rights, the rights or the management of our forests is a big issue, and we know what has happened. One of the things that has been done is a public-private partnership. I want you to expand on what it is.
Yes. See, I studied the forest cover of India. It's an unfortunate story. We have 24% of forest land, but we don't have 24% forest. We have forest land where forest doesn't exist. It is 1/3, 8% of area which is forest land, but which is where there is no forest. It's a degraded forest. Actually no forest at many places. So I have proposed that we will have a public-private partnership. Forest department resisted, because nobody wants to leave monopoly. I said now there will be competition. So we will auction 1,000 hectares land on lease and put on auction the block where 10% of the land you will have to put traditional species useful for animals, birds and human beings. That you will not be allowed to cut. But rest 900 hectares you can't plant. So I have called meeting of all those wood importers. Because when you import wood, you export jobs. I want jobs to be here. So we will allow them we will share the revenue the best way, but at the same time we'll allow them to grow and do commercial forestry so that they can harvest regularly.
Who will be eligible for this? Maybe there might be people in the audience who would...
Those today who are importing wood, right from paper industry to many industries, furniture industries, they are importing huge quantity. And that they will be given the pieces of land, not ownership, on lease for 50 years, and then they will cultivate those, harvest those, they will have good business cycle, we'll have great employment, and we will have great forest also.
10% of that area you say will have to be reserved forest, the other 90% can be commercial forestry.
Commercial forest.
Okay, let's also talk about one more aspect, and this is to do with the revival of hydropower. Let me point out once again for the audience that after a gap where there were serious doubts about hydropower in the country, and we saw the execution issues that happened with several projects, including in Arunachal Pradesh or in Himachal Pradesh, and also other issues. Prakash Javadekar has been sort of at the forefront of talking about a revival of the hydropower situation. Are the environmental concerns taken care of? What basis do you want to push hydropower again?
See, hydropower is a very natural, clean electricity we can generate. And what you need to address beforehand is a rehabilitation problem. At the same time, run-of-the-river projects are more preferred, but where the ecological flow also continues. So you can have sustainable hydroelectricity project and you have tremendous potential. Yesterday only I have received a report on Siang River's potential. Last week only we have learned that, means we know that in Tibet, China has built a very big dam on Siang, which becomes Brahmaputra here. So, but we have also assessed, and I have also discussed with Bhutan, we can increase our capacities in Bhutan also. And so there are tremendous opportunities of hydropower electricity.
How much of the, on a slightly different note, because I was going to wrap up this conversation by asking you about clean water and Gangaji in one quick one. But before that, how much of a concern is it as far as our water security is concerned with what China has done on the Siang?
No, what they have done, our concerned ministries are already assessing. We were in talks with China, as it has not come as a surprise. Dams are not built overnight. So it was a 10 years project. We knew of it. There were many rounds of discussion. So concerned departments are taking. We will also study. The issue is, as you rightly asked, what was it?
About the fact that what will it do to our water security if...
No, I don't feel that we need to use our water resources more productively. That is, today, 90% of our fresh water goes immediately with the flood in seas. Now with Godavari and Krishna, one river link, they will be saving 1,000 CM, what they call, that 1,000 TCM not going into the sea, and they can use it for irrigation. So that's a beautiful thing, and every state needs to scale up such projects.
My final point to you and for the audience, that while we talk about the strength of India and you represent that, the sad reality also is that perhaps there are not more than 4 cities in this country as of now, and Prakash ji, correct me if I'm wrong, which do not have, only 4 cities which have access to continuous 24/7 piped drinking water. And that is look at the size of India, that 4-city number will tell you. 70% of rural India does not have access to clean drinking water. We also talk about reviving the Ganga, where millions and millions of Indians have not just faith, but they understand the economic linkages that it has with this country. Where are we on that project? What can you tell the audience about what will happen 3 years later?
I'll tell you, you be very sure that we are on the right path, because we have realized the problem. That's the first step.
I have to interrupt you, if you allow me. For Ganga, there have been many national plans in the past.
I'll tell you. एक हमारे यहाँ बड़ा पॉपुलर गाना हो गया था, गंगा मैली हो गई पापियों के पाप धोते धोते। वो सच नहीं है। सच ये है कि आज सभी नदियों में आफ्टर 68 years of independence, 86% of sewage goes untreated into the water bodies. Second reality, 30% of industrial pollution goes into water bodies without treated. Irresponsible business practices. Then third is half of your solid waste because of unscientific collection methods ultimately goes to the water bodies through floods. So, and even 2/3 of the agriculture waste. So you get contamination all over. That's the spread. And how to deal with it? You have to start. We have started at Ganga. And I'm very sure यूरोप और अमेरिका की नदियां भी 50 साल पहले खराब थी। सिंगापुर में या थेम्स के किनारे पर भी लोग ऐसा ही जाते थे, लेकिन उन्होंने भी 15 साल में बदला। हम भी बदलेंगे, क्योंकि सीवेज का भी 20,000 crores on Ganga is not only for sewage cleaning. We have already stopped industrial pollution going into the rivers by mandating polluting industries 24/7 monitoring effluent at a effluent discharge point. We have asked them, mandated them to put 24/7 monitoring sensors, because that gives me a live picture on my cabin who is polluting and to what extent. And so we are not allowing to do that. And waste management rules, we have issued draft notification. Please go to our website. I'm issuing advertisements tomorrow. Solid waste management rule, biomedical waste management rule, hazardous waste management rule, e-waste management rule, plastic waste management rules, and construction and demolition waste management rules. We have revised all. We have put it on the website for public consultation. Next month we have already received thousands of suggestions, and we are processing them. And by year end, we will have a new regime of waste management which is scientific, which will be implemented even in villages, and that is the basis of Swachh Bharat, the dream of Prime Minister.
I think that is perhaps the best way to end this conversation, Prakashji, because apart from all the big numbers, the billions and trillions of dollars, it is ultimately every drop of water that matters. Thank you so much for your time today.